Hello, everyone. This is Melanie from the Light Beams Treasures, and we are going to be doing another great moment in literary history. I've got a book here that I saw on the shelf when I went book shopping, and I could not resist. I had to get it. So, without further ado, I am going to be reading you The Fart Book. Now, this is a fart book. It is written by Donald Witzel, illustrated by Martin Risky, and you can see it's some amazing cartoon work and very small detailed work. But I am going to actually read this book to you because I believe everybody needs to experience the fart book. So let's start with introduction. To the best of my knowledge, there has been no full-length work attempting on the subject of farts, which is hard to figure as everyone on Earth lives and breathes and farts. Even the president, he farts oval farts due to the office. When my dad worked in the office, he used to call it the orifice. I like puns, but I do not think they belong in a book such as this. Otherwise, I would have said that the president farts are oval farts due to his orifice, which would have been the best pun I've ever thought of. But note to readers, all farts are divided into two groups. Number one, your farts, and number two, somebody else's farts. There are some farts that can positively identify when they are your own, such as the different kinds of silent or near silent farts. Odor alone will not always do. There, there has to be a feel to some farts. That is necessary to their identification, and I will try to make clear which two groups each fart is apt to be found in. But the reader is asked to keep this in mind for himself when using this guide to avoid unnecessary confusion and false identifications. All the farts in this book will be arranged alphabetically. If a person knows their alphabet, they should have no trouble understanding this arrangement to figure things out. So, boys and girls, we will start with the letter A, the alarm fart. This is a good fart for the beginner. It is easy to identify. It starts with a quick, unnaturally loud high note, wavers like a siren, and ends with a quick downward note that stops before you expect it to. It sounds like something is wrong. If it happens to you, you will know right off why it's called the alarm fart. You will be alarmed. The alarm fart is very rare. Then we have the amplified fart. This is any fart that gets its power more from being amplified than from the fart itself. A metal porch swing will amplify a fart each and every time. So will a plywood table, an empty 50-gallon drum, a tin roof, or some empty cardboard boxes, if they're strong enough for you to sit on. Any fart made a great deal louder than it's really is thought to be amplified this way and be called an amplified fart. These are common farts under the right conditions. Now we go to B, boys and girls. It is the bathtub fart. People who never in their life know one fart from another, who would like to act like farts don't exist, will have to admit that the bathtub fart is something special. It's the only fart that you can actually see. What you see is the bubble or bubbles. The bathtub fart can either be single or multiple noted, fair or foul as to odor. It makes no difference. The farter's location is what does it. Maybe there's some kind of muffled pong and one big bubble, or there may be a ping, 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 and a bunch of little bubbles. The sound, I should point out, depends somewhat on the depth of the water and even more on the tub. If it's one of those big old heavy tubs with the funny legs that you can get terrific sound effects on, while one of the new thin ones half buried in the floor can be very disappointing. But either way, as long as the water is deep enough, whatever the sound comes up, the bubble or bubbles, you have to be quick and glance back over your shoulder in order to see it. It is the bathtub fart, the most positively identified fart known to man. It is a common fart and strictly grouped one unless you're a kid still young enough to take baths with your friends. Next we have is the biggest fart in the world. Like the great bald eagle, this fart is pretty well described just by its name. This can be either a group 1 or group 2 fart and can occur just about anywhere. I heard at one time a group 2 identification in a crowded high school auditorium one night, right in that silence that happens when a room full of people has stopped singing the Star Spangled Banner and sat down. It came from the back. There was not a soul in that room who missed it. It was a fart that can be so impressive. The most diagnostic characteristic of the biggest fart in the world is its size. Fart freaks who go around showing off farting like popcorn machines and making faces before they fart or ask you to pull their finger and then fart never have what it takes for this one, which is rare even among the serious farters. Then we have the burning brakes fart. A silent fart identified by odor alone. Usually an adult fart occurring while the adult is driving a car has a front passenger seat who farts. The burning brake farts actually does smell a little bit like burning brakes and seems to hang around longer than most farts, which gives whoever farted a chance to make a big show of checking to see if the emergency brake has been left on. When he finds out, you know who farted. It's a common automobile fart. Then we have the car door fart. Either a group 1 or a group 2 fart. It's very tricky. It is meant to be a concealed fart. A matter of close timing is involved. The farter trying to fart at the exact moment that he slams the car door shut. It usually is a good loud fart, and it's one of the funnier fart when it doesn't work, which is almost every time. It's a desperation fart that's not too common. Then we come into the celestial fart. Not to be confused with Did an Angel Speak fart, which is simply a loud fart in any church. The celestial fart is a soft, delicate, surprising in a little boy or an adult. It probably is the most shy of all farts and might be compared with wood thrush, a very shy bird. It does not have the sly or cunning sound of the whisper fart, and it's just a very clear fart with no odor at all. It is very rare. Then we have the Chinese firecracker fart. This is exceptional multiple noted fart identified by the number and the variety of its noises, mostly pops and bangs. Often when you think of it, it's all over, it still has a few more pops and bangs to go. And in friendly company, this one usually gets applause. But this is an uncommon fart. That is the Chinese firecracker fart. Then we have the crowd fart. The crowd fart is distinguished by its very potent odor, strong enough to make quite a few people look around. The trick here is not to identify the fart, but the farter. This is almost impossible unless the farter panics and starts a coughing fit, and it starts staring at the ceiling or sky as though someone up there is fascinating to him, in which case he is the one. This is a very common fart. Now we're up to D. The Did an Angel Speak fart. This is a loud fart in church. This fart was first called to my attention by my father. He probably read about it somewhere. For fart watchers who go to church, this is a good one to watch for. It is the only place this fart can be found. My baby, what's the matter? See, my baby wants me to read to her. Okay, then we have the dog did it fart. It is necessary for a dog to be around for this fart to occur. People who fart and blame it on the dog when there is no dog within miles are making a travesty of the whole fart identification business, which is difficult enough as it is. There is always a silent fart, but with an odor you can only blame on a dog that was dead. The farter tries to blame it on the dog. He will even go so far as to run the dog out of the house. Do not be fooled. When a dog farts, it usually grunts too. It may even get up and walk away. This is what you should do when you identified a dog did it fart. They are vile. Then we have the drum roll fart. Some people might want to put this fart under general heading of musical farts. See under M. But for one, have never considered the drum very much a musical instrument. It is a multiple noted fart of the same tone or pitch, farted very, very fast. It sounds more like a drum roll when now and then the farter happens to throw in a rim shot at the end. But you cannot expect this every time. It should be no way confused with the Chinese firecracker fart, which is far more colorful of the two, although the drum fart is much more rare. Now we go to letter E, the English fart. A very classy fart. The sound alone distinguishes it from all other farts. There are some who will say that this is a put on accent, but this is silly. When it comes to farting, no one goes around sounding like an Englishman. It happens or it doesn't. This sound makes is a sometimes it'll go it's unmistakable. It probably as proper an upper class fart as you can get, the English fart. Then we have the exclamation fart. This is a punctuation fart. Timing is the whole thing. The farter or someone must be speaking. For instance, the speaker will say, "Ah, shut up." And then someone will fart a loud, sharp fart. This is a true exclamation fart. If the speaker is also a farter, he may delay his fart until the right moment and then force it out with all he's worth. It works better if it's still a true exclamation fart, although more often than not, it's an accident for a very rare reason. Then we have the executive fart. A very loud, clear fart by a very important person is the executive fart. It's either sharp or flat, somewhat off key, but otherwise a very businesslike fart. If you do not laugh at the executive fart, this is either because you're scared of that person who farted or because the fart is so gross. This is common with very important people. Then we have the fire fart. There is probably no other fart about which there is more confusion or has many other common names. It has been called the scorcher fart, the burning britches fart, the solar fart, the natural gas or front burner fart, and other names. But its correct name is simply the fire fart. It's called this because the sensation it gives the farter when he farts, it burns. For this reason, it's most likely a group 1 identification fart. People can make all kinds of faces when they fart. A look of pain when a person farts does not necessarily mean they have farted a fire fart. Some people look pain when they fart any kind of fart at all. But as a group 1 fart, it is never any question about it at all. You wonder sometimes if it smokes. The only way this can be group 2 is if it is confirmed. You have to say to the one who farted, "Did that fart burn?" If they say yes, then you have identified and confirmed a group 2 identification fart. This will not happen very often, but this can also lead into question of whether farts actually burn or not. If you say to someone who has farted, "Did that fart burn?" they are apt to try to turn the subject away from themselves and start an argument. "Farts don't burn, you dummy," they will say. Then if you say it as a matter of fact, "Fart will burn," they will argue back and forth. And while a fart is gas and not that kind of gas that burns, or not enough gas to fart into, or that you're weird. I have seen people who I know nothing about the subject get all quite hot about it. Anyone who does not believe that a fart will burn should check out with Joe Brantley, who is now pretty well known throughout the Baldwin County, Alabama, as the Blue Flame Brantley. Try to tell him that a fart won't burn. He's stopped trying to deny it. There were witnesses, about 10 of them. The way it happened was Blue Flame Brantley is a big football player with a very hairy ass. A nice guy, they say, easygoing. So one day after football practice, the team was in the back locker room, and Blue Flame Brantley just got out of the shower, only he was known as just Joe Brantley then, and was drying himself off, and some wise guy wondered if the hairs around his ass would burn, as wet as they were. Joe had one foot up on the bench. It was bent over, looking like a bad case of athlete foot, and this wise guy sneaked up behind him with a cigarette lighter. They say that Joe should have noticed how quiet it got right then and there, but he didn't. He was bent over, looking at his athlete's foot, worried about a problem. Anyhow, with all these people watching, just as the kid clicked his lighter, it lit. Joe Brantley farted a big one, and it burned. 10 people saw a long blue flame shoot back at least 3 inches from his ass. I was not there myself, but I've talked to some that were there, and they swear it happened. Not only did the fart burn with a long blue flame, but it caught the hair around his ass on fire, and he had to beat it with a towel to put it out. There may be some people who believe that a fart will not burn despite the true account. I could tell them to go ahead and test it out for themselves. But due to the danger, it's probably best to stick to identifying a fire fart as a one fart only and let it go at that. Next we have is the fizzle fart, a very wet fart. It sounds like it almost a fart that fails but is not quite. There's an old saying, kind of a rhyme, which I have never heard all the way through, but it's about an old lady who farts and fizzles and rots her pants. The fizzle mentioned here is the fizzle fart we're talking about. It's not always an old lady's fart, but it's always on the damp side and sounds like it. This is a common fart with senior citizens and people who eat fast foods. The French fart, said to be the most beautiful of farts, usually in a minor key, soft and musical with many half tones. Any long, drawn out fart that seems beautiful to you is most likely the French fart. Very rare. Then we have the German fart. If you if you hear a fart that makes you think of a dog, it's probably the German fart. It has a deep growling or low barking noise, or both. It comes from the deep inside and never seems to get all the way out. It still can be loud and frightening to small children. The odor varies, but not much as you think, as it's one that rings every time. Now we have the girls don't fart fart. Any fart by a girl can fart. She will shake the walls or blow little birds right out of their nests, but the girl will never give a sign. You're supposed to ignore it. It may be heard, but it's better that you just ignore it. We're girls, this is the most common fart there is. The going upstairs fart. One in a million fart and one of my favorite farts. This fart breaks on each step the further you go up on a short flight of stairs. Not a step is missed when it is true going up the stairs fart. It probably caused by being held back fart, and the action of going up the stairs cuts it loose. If the fart goes up a note with each step, then you have a musical going up the stairs fart. There is no fart more rare than that one. Next, we have the hair trigger fart. Another fart that hardly needs to be described. There is no one like that lives and farts that does not know from experience what it is to fart like this. Like a sneeze about to be sneezed, suddenly it is there. You know that any movement at all, even a thought, could set it off. And sure enough, that's when it will happen. A group 1 identification only. Very common. Then we have the hard boiled egg fart. We're on H right now. Hard boiled egg fart. Odor alone identifies this fart. It stinks of sulfur. Due to the sulfur content of hard boiled eggs, while it is true that powdered sulfur will keep bed bugs away when you're out in the woods, it's not true that a few hard boiled egg farts in the evening will keep the whole campsite free of red bugs for the rest of the night. What it may do is keep the campsite free of all other campers for the rest of the night. The hard-boiled egg fart. The Harvard fart. The Harvard fart is different from the English fart in two ways. First, the sound is different. More of a thump as opposed to a thip. The other difference is the way the farter acts about it. When in English farts, the farter always acts as though nothing happened. But a person who farts a Harvard fart will give a sign. He will smile, a nod, as if he just heard it from God. The incense fart. The incense fart is a potent fart. Do not be fooled by its name. It is only called the incense fart to be sarcastic. What happens is when someone farts in a crowd, a vile one, since it cannot be ignored, someone will be like, "Ah, how lovely! Sandalwood? Jasmine? Gardenia?" Or whatever your favorite incense is. Maybe. Incense fart. Next, we have the interrogatory fart. This is the fart that seems to ask a question and it ends up on a note. Seems to say, "Oh," or "well." It can be a very silly fart when you are alone, as though you're having a conversation with your own ass, but it's fairly common. Then comes the inspirational fart. The sound of this fart may be described like organ music. However, in my opinion, only someone who really farts would actually find this fart inspiring. Still, a sound like an organ music is quite a fart, and it actually gives you goose flesh at the time. It's probably safe to put it down as the inspirational fart. It's rare. Next, we go to J. The jubilation fart. Generally, the jubilation fart cannot be told safely from the inspirational fart except by the expert. Both farts are hard to believe. Like the hippopotamus and the rhinoceros, in a short time, a fart lasts is always hard to make up in your mind which one it is. If you suddenly saw a hippopotamus or a rhinoceros for a short time, you probably have the same trouble. The rhinoceros is the one with the horn at the end of its nose. The junk fart. This is a fart we would just as well do without. It comes from eating junk, and it sounds like a sound, like a swinging door. As farts go, it's really nothing to it. It comes chiefly from eating at a fast food restaurant. It can happen while you're still there, still eating. It's quick, in and out, no waiting. The same thing as the service they advertise. This fart is way too common. The kamikaze fart. Sometimes called the suicide fart or the killer fart. Kamikaze is the correct name. Kamikaze means divine wind, for a fact. It wipes out everybody. The farter in every case will have that crazy look to him. This is one of the ways the fart can be identified. The farter will be wiped out too, and any person who farts in the kamikaze fart and brags about it is a fart fanatic and probably very dangerous in other ways. Next we have is the kinky fart. A person who farts while kissing another person has farted a kinky fart. This is a very rotten thing to do. The Kipling fart. The origin of this fart is very, very interesting, if true. It was supposed to have happened in the University of South Alabama. What happened was that a strange professor was talking to another professor one day who happened to be a great one for making jokes. And the strange professor said, "Do you like Kipling?" And the joker said, "I don't know. How do you kipple?" And the strange professor said, "Like this." And then he farted. This fart is the kipple sound. L. The lisp fart. This is a fart that is funny in any situation, even if alone. It's a simple fart that lisps. You know it when you hear it. It can be particularly funny, a group 2 identification, when the farter happens to be someone who also lisps when they talk. The loose board fart. The loose board fart has to sound squeaky like a loose board you've just stepped on. Some people call any fart a loose board fart, just to have something to say. They are the same sort of people who say the dog did it when there's no dog in sight. Listen for that squeaky, creaky sound. The mudsucker fart. The most gross sounding of all farts. It sounds like someone with his foot stuck in the mud, slowly pulling it out. Identification is positive by sound alone. No other fart will make this wet sucking noise. It is fairly common with Tootsie Roll eaters. The musical fart. This is a very special category. All musical farts do not necessarily sound musical. This may seem odd, but that's the way it works. Who would think, for example, that the Spanish moss is related to the pineapple? But it is. All musical farts are rare, and identification is a matter of opinion. You have the classical fart, which is loud and soft, soft and loud. It goes on when you think it has ended. You have the hard rock fart. A highly amplified musical fart can make the dog howl with pain. The farter doesn't care if you like it or not. You may not like it, but he does. The Star Spangled Banner fart. This is one of the few farts that can bring tears to people's eyes and lumps to their throats and otherwise get them all stirred up. Then we have the wah wah fart. This is not a baby fart. The wah wah is an electric gadget worked by a guitar plays foot that makes the electric car make this weird wah 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 sound. Not all people will call this a musical fart. We have the natural gas fart, which is another name for the fire fart. We already read fire fart, CF. The octave fart. We are on letter O. Some people would put the octave fart under musical farts. This would be a mistake, but some will do it anyway. All small birds look like warbles and are not warbles. Some are vireos. The octave fart goes under O. The sound of this fart is one note going up and down a full octave. Quick or slow, loud or soft, major or minor. This may be a hard one to identify for a person who does not know what an octave is. This is a very rare fart. E. The ping pong ball fart. It's an unusual hollow sounding fart in multiple noted. Its sound alone is diagnostic. It sounds like a ping pong ball which has been dropped on the table from several feet above and then bounces off until it fell. There can be quite a wait between bounces. This is probably the most rare of all multiple noted farts. The poo poo fart. This is a fart by a very small child. The kid farts and says, "Go poo poo now." And somebody takes him and he does. That's a poo poo fart. The presidential fart. This fart was described in the introduction to this work. What is rare about this fart is that we are talking about the President of the United States. There is only one of them at a time, and they stay pretty much themselves. But it is fair to suppose that they fart just as much as anybody else. Get one of these on your list, though. You may have already got one there. Next, we've got Q, the quack quack fart. This is a silly name for the fart, but a lot of people will call it the duck fart. But it's important to remember that it's a double noted fart. And while quack quack is the sound the duck makes, it's the sound of quack quack fart. There's nothing to stop the duck from going quack once, not twice. So why is this called a quack quack fart? Just to be exact, it's fairly rare. Then we have the quawunk fart. It's similar to the quack quack fart, but mostly because of the Q sound. Very few farts have a Q sound, but the quonk fart is simply noted for more soft, pleasant sounding than the quack quack. If you say quonk softly to yourself, that is what the fart sounds like. The rover fart. We are on letter R. Commonly called the dog fart. However, a dog fart is actually a fart by a dog. It is beyond the scope of this work to go into all animal farts. I have been told that the mule fart can blow down a barn door and that a pig's fart is like popping bubble gum, but none of them may be true. Sound is a diagnostic in identifying the rover fart. Any barking sound will do. If it's an arf arf or woof woof or woof woof, even bow wow, although a fart goes bow wow, would be pretty far out fart. We are on the letter S, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, just a few more letters left. The scratch ass fart. Surprisingly, this is the only real dirty name for the fart that will work, but it's the right name. The action of the farter is diagnostic. He has farted and it itches. He just has to scratch it. As a group two identification, you have to make certain that the first person scratching his ass has got to be the one that really farted. Some people have a habit of scratching their ass about every 5 minutes, so this is pretty common. Excuse me fart. This is a rare fart itself as it is farted. It is about as close to words as the fart can get. The sound makes a little soft whisper that says, "Excuse me," the most polite of all farts, and very silly when you're alone. The string of pearls fart. The most unusual and perfect tone fart. Round, clear, evenly spaced notes. This one is so beautiful. Very rich ladies would like to fart this one every time if they could. It is a very rare fart. Letter T, the talking fart. This unusual fart sounds like it's imitating human speech, about the way a parrot does. Only the talking fart is not really saying a thing. People will look at you and say, "What?" And all you have to do is shrug and look dumb. You, the unmentionable fart. A tricky one to identify, even though it's probably more common than anyone who wants to admit it. It all depends on the situation or who farted. I will give you some examples. You are alone with your girlfriend and she farts, or you do. It may be loud or rank or both, but either way, it's unmentionable. Or you're at the principal's office and there's just the principal and his secretary and you didn't fart, but somebody did. Much as you might like to say it wasn't you that did it, you know better. Either the principal or the secretary probably feels the same way, but the other one is very glad that the unmentionable fart cannot be mentioned, or they would lose some brownie points for sure. Few more letters left. We are on V, the vending machine fart. Very similar to the car door fart, only here the farter tries to conceal his fart by making a lot of racket, getting some gum or candy from the vending machine. He will even pound and kick the machine for some time after it's given him his gum or candy, waiting for the fart to happen. This usually doesn't work much better than the car door fart. But people, kids especially, will keep trying it. More damage is done to the vending machines this way than anybody realizes. The Volkswagen fart. Any good strong fart in a Volkswagen in the winter or any with the windows closed is a deadly Volkswagen fart. It can strangle people. While I'm generally in favor of people farting whenever they have to fart, they really should try not to fart in a closed Volkswagen. It will be nice if one of the rare farts, but it isn't. W, the whisper fart. This is an eased out fart that really works. Everyone can manage it. It takes control. It's one of the most sly and cunning farts there is. You will know that sort of person who is most apt to the whisper fart. He will be sneaky about everything. This can be a hard one to get on your list. Letter X, the Xmas fart. The Christmas fart is an ordinary fart that is farted at Christmas. That is the only special thing about it. And the fact that it's a fart that starts with the letter X. An example of Xmas fart happened with me at school. It was not Christmas, but the last day of school before Christmas, it happened. Mrs. Schlotzheimer class, I was sitting in the back of the room next to Harold Tabor, just the two of us alone, being so close to Christmas. I was sitting there singing the Christmas carols in my head and not paying much attention, and without thinking, I farted a loud one. A regular firecracker, heads turned all over the room, as can be imagined. I had to think fast. "Hark the herald," I said, and I pointed to Harold. Everyone thought he was the one that did it. Harold is crazy about puns, but he was not so crazy about that one. Why? The yoga fart. This is a very rare fart by a person sitting with their legs crossed, thinking very heavy thoughts. The chance of a group 2 identification on this one is pretty slim, as who wants to hang around a person who's just sitting there with their leg crossed all day, thinking heavy thoughts? If it is a group 1 fart and you're really into yoga, then you should not even notice that you farted. This could be a pretty tough one to get on your list, unless you and your friends are pretty weird. And Z, the final fart we have is the zipper fart. This is the only fart that starts with the letter Z. It goes zip. It's hard to sound like a fart at all. As a matter of fact, there may not be any such fart. And that, my friends, is the fart book. If anyone is interested in this book, I am selling it for $5. It is a funny book. They all have the different alphabets with the different cartoons. It is an amazing book. And I think what's even funnier is on the back page shows their other type of publications that they offer. And I mean, I just want to read some of these. And they're books like this. Sex manual for people over 40. Your golf game is in big trouble when. Um, the SHIT list. You survived Catholic school when. Teddy bears are better than men because. Cucumbers are better than men because. Picking up speed. The Working Woman's Guide to the Male Organ. Dumb men jokes. Happy birthday to you, you old fart. Games you could play with your. Lots of books, lots of fun. I'm selling this for $5. But if you enjoyed this and other great moments of literature, be sure to check out my channel. Every now and then, I do read some wonderful works. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit the thumbs up. I'm 30 subscribers away from my 1,000 mark. I would really, really love to reach my 1,000. Once I hit my 1,000 mark, I will start doing some fun stuff. So stay tuned. There'll be some really good prizes and everything like that. Be sure to double check that you're subscribed. And just tell me, did you like the fart book? The fart book! Many more farts to you. Have a great day. This is Melanie with Light Beams Treasures. Take care.